Once upon a time, there lived in southern Sweden a 14-year-old boy named Nils Holgersson. He was a lazy boy and seemed to care for no one. He studied badly at school, disrespected adults, and was cruel to animals. But one day, left alone at home, he caught a little elf, and knowing that the elves know magic and can grant him any wish, he refused to let him go. The elf got angry and punished Nils by shrinking him to no more than a few inches, small enough to fit on the back of a goose and travel all over the country with his parents' white gander, Morten. They joined a flock of wild geese led by an old and experienced goose called Akka from Kebnekaise. The geese flew north from his home in the southern province of Scania and had many adventures all over the country until they finally found themselves in the summer spot all the way north in Lapland. The Wonderful Adventures of Nils was written in 1906 by the Swedish author Selma Lagerlöf. Just a few years later, Lagerlöf became the first female writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature. The book instantly became a bestseller and since then has been translated into dozens of languages. The author became immortalized, along with her Nils, as one of the Swedish national symbols. Her portrait can be seen on the Swedish 20 krona bill, and on the bill's obverse there is Nils, flying on the back of a white gander high above the Swedish countryside. The book was published in the United States in 1907, in Velma Swanston Howard's translation, and was followed in 1911 by the second installment, Further Adventures of Nils. Since then, the subsequent editions combine the two volumes under the title The Wonderful Adventures of Nils. The Baldwin Collection of Historical Children's Literature at the University of Florida holds several copies of the first American editions. The collection also includes the combined 1913 edition with color plates, the 1947 edition with over 200 illustrations, and the 1967 abridged edition with color photographs, all of them enchanting in their own way. On his way to Lapland, Nils has many adventures that test his courage, loyalty, and wit, and earn the respect of animals around him. Soon after departure, he realizes that the gander he's traveling with is his only comfort in the world and takes responsibility for Morton and the rest of the flock. He rescues the geese from Smeary the fox, reunites a mother squirrel with her babies, and lures away the awful grey rat army away from the Glimminge castle with a magic flute. Nils saves Father Bear's life and liberates wild sheep from the foxes. While he's at it, he gets kidnapped by crows, almost gets killed by an owl, and sees the magical medieval town of Vineta that only appears once in a century. Lagerlöf's work is full of detailed descriptions of the Swedish countryside and history. Not surprising, considering that the book was originally commissioned by the Swedish National Teachers Association as a classroom text. The text was intended to stimulate children's learning about their country. The book offers a bird's-eye view of Sweden's rich natural world, as well as its industrial development, exploring the fine line between ecology, tradition, and progress. Nils sees Swedish railroads, shipping, mining, and timber industries, but his ambiguous status as a human elf enmeshed with the animal world prevents him from fully embracing either side. Still, at the end of the book, when he returns home and is restored to his full size, it is old Akka's message that stays with the reader. If you have learned anything at all from us, you no longer think that the humans should have the whole earth to themselves. Remember, you have a large country, and you can easily afford to leave a few bare rocks, a few shallow lakes and swamps, a few desolate cliffs and remote forests to us poor, dumb creatures, where we can be allowed to live in peace. Lagerlöf never wrote a single children's book before Nils. She was primarily a novelist, known for deep psychological works. The Wonderful Adventures is never sentimental and does not shy away from the subjects of death, uprooting, exile, and the questions of what it means to be human. Nils closes a dead woman's eyes, sees firsthand the death of the king crow. The readers learn about the death of Grayskin the elk and about Nils's former playmate, a girl named Osa, whose brother dies by falling into a mining pit during their journey to find their estranged father. The final test comes when Nils learns that he can only be restored to his regular size and join his parents if the white gander ends up on his parents' butcher block. Nils's refusal to betray his friend is what finally breaks the spell. And yet, despite the popularity of the book in Europe, it never really took off in the United States. At the present, it seems almost entirely forgotten. As Suzanne Rahn pointed out, the episodic nature of the narrative and the shifting viewpoints can be confusing. There haven't been any new translations after Howard's, and Howard's vocabulary and sentence structure seems outdated in the 21st century. The book is also long and extremely detailed. The young readers today simply don't have the same attention spans as their counterparts in the early 20th century. Still, the Wonderful Adventures of Nils deserve to be rescued and remembered, not only as a spectacular pedagogical tool that inspired millions of Swedish children to learn about their country, but also as a book about making important choices and growing up. In the very end, when Nils says goodbye to his friends, he can no longer understand their language. He is human. And even though he is home, he feels such a yearning for his departing comrades that he almost wished he were little again and could travel over land and sea with a flock of wild geese.